Moving on to markets now, the Nigerian Equities market is still in a free fall state, this time down for the second consecutive session as predicted by most analysts. It has now lost about 1.2% in just 2 days despite strong buying interest for bank stocks. Olumide Akindele, head proposition and liability at Diamond Bank, joins me now for projections into equities activities as we approach the second half of the week. Thank you so much, Olumide, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Esther.
Well, let's get into, first of all, the general market performance for today. We saw the O-share index still down by over 0.5%. That's what the O-share index lost yesterday. So we're down over 1% in just 2 days. But we did see some buying interest for bank stocks, perhaps on the back of results released by Guaranty Trust Bank today. Just run us your thoughts on market trade for today.
Obviously, it's expected the markets will still have a little bit pressure going forward today. But again, I don't think it's anything to be actually alarmed or worried about. We expect we'll have some dips and down. What is more important is year to date and seeing how the markets have grown. We expect the equity markets to be still a little bit bullish. We expect that the banks to some extent, as well as the FMG companies, to actually still push equity returns for the market. So I wouldn't be too much alarmed at the moment in terms of what's happening in the market. I think generally we're in a season where we find that the big pushers, the banks, are beginning to release their results. So that's what's probably more analysts are interested to see how they fared over the first half of the year.
But what do you think could break this bearish cycle? What do you think in terms of a major catalyst that could take this market out of this negative territory?
I think it's just the realignment. I think what will happen is as we head towards the end of the year, more and more focus will be spent by the banks, especially in finding out where they can actually drive income from, and that will hopefully will drive the market. But you also have other sectors of the economy as we wind down towards the end of the year. We tend to find that we'll find more and more sectors looking to actually try and close up high. So like I said, I wouldn't be too much alarmed in terms of what the markets are doing at the moment. I think we expect that with the back of results coming up from most companies going forward.
Okay, let's talk about some economic issues beyond the markets now. We do know, of course, last week that the Central Bank of Nigeria announced a fund for the micro, small and medium enterprises, about 200 billion naira, which is going to be disbursed to help revive that sector. But of course, concerns have been raised about what the modalities of the disbursement will be, what banks will get this money. Is it going to be the microfinance banks? What kind of rate are we going to see this small business owners paying for this cash? Your thoughts on that?
Okay, the CAB announced a super duper fund, as we would like to call it, last week for 220 billion, targeting the small MSME market. And this is obviously in direct competition with the money lending banks. The focus of the bank, which is still, or rather the focus of CBN, which is still trying to push money to the rural and urban SME firms out there. We understand that the interest rate as announced by the CBN governor will be at 9%. We also understand that the fund will be primarily targeted at 60% women. Again, this is driving towards the overall policy of financial inclusion and getting women into supporting women in banking and going forward. So we expect that fund obviously will be targeted towards many of these small end rural companies. Now, in terms of the modality of how it will work, we're still waiting to hear the proper guidelines from CBN of how they expect to work. Some school of thought say they will probably create an SPV vehicle where they will actually do the disbursement of these loans to all these targeted individuals. But like I said, I think it's still very, very early to actually figure out how CBN expect the practice of this fund to be dispersed across the various segments.
Now, while it's too early for us to speculate as to how these funds will be dispersed, so what's your biggest concern?
I think my biggest concern is, this is not the first time we've had an intervention fund. And I think we've had intervention funds before. The challenge or the skepticism is whether it will work, whether the funds will really hit the intended targeted audience, and what the modalities in terms of actually getting these funds. Remember, there's still always a lot of skepticism when it comes to money being lended by the government and the bureaucracy that might follow in terms of actually approving and getting these loans. I think the CBN has a long way to do in terms of ensuring that there's a lot of awareness and there's a lot of simple, straightforward process in assessing these loans.
Are you confident of a good ripple effect? Because, I've heard some analysts say 200 billion naira in an economy like such as ours is still a drop in the ocean. But in terms of, at least some people will get this money. But so do you think that for those who will get it, we could see a significant spiral effect and, of course, impacting positively on the Nigerian economy?
220 billion naira is not a speck in the drop in terms of at least getting the immediate needs of MSMEs. Don't forget, MSMEs still form, they're still about roughly about 46 million individuals that may or may not benefit from this fund if it's targeted at the right type of SMEs.